Yes. We are
Yes, yes.
live streaming.
Hello. There's always a delay on the other side. It's good. Hello. Amazing.
Welcome, comadres.
All right. Hello, comadres. We are live. If you are a comadre, feel free to hop in the actual call on Zoom. But otherwise, welcome everyone. Welcome to January. Went by quite fast. We did a good job celebrating at the end, and now it is time for some vision. I love vision. It's so fun.
It is.
And it is, and I think that like that space of like, what do you get to create, and what do you get to have come true, and all of those things. So, Ilona, the etymology is easy on this one.
It is. It
What
is
is
actually
it?
really easy. So the first part or iteration of the etymology is like, or most recent rather, is Anglo-French vision, or from French vision, meaning presence, sight, view, look, dream, supernatural sight. But all of that comes from Latin visionem, which is the nominative of visio. It's the act of seeing, sight, being seen. It's literally to see. Like vision is all about the actual act of seeing.
And I think that like one of the reasons that like the thing about vision that people try to like short, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, I know what I want. No. You gotta like see it. Like you can't manifest it if you can't see it. You can't do it if you can't see it. You can't even believe it if you can't see it, right? So it is like that act of like, and maybe it's not perfectly clear and blah 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 blah, but like the actual physical, mind's eye or actual eyeballs, right, of seeing it really does make a difference.
Yeah. Because the thing that there's like a distinction too, because I think there are people who are like, well, I'm not clear about things. I remember being on a call once and someone's like, well, I'm not always clear about things, but I get things done. And for me, there's a distinction when you have vision, when you can clearly see what your end goal is or your plan is, or like, and whether it's short or long term, like you are acting upon that which you see. When you are not able, when you don't have a vision, you're still creating, you're still materializing things, but it's from a mechanical perspective, from like this expectation that I have to be doing things. Like I think about hustle culture. Well, if I'm not doing anything, then I'm not worthy. And so there's like, you get stuck in doing things for the sake of this concept of doing things rather than I have a vision. I think about people who are like, they get older in life and they're like, oh, I didn't do these things. I wish I knew then. I wish I knew then what I knew now, right? They didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a vision for their life and they were mechanically going through the process of living. And then you see these people and they're like, wow, I wish I could do that. Well, what you're really wishing is you could see clearly for yourself what you want so you can go forth and do it. And sometimes it is in seeing these unbridled, passionate, people who have no like rules on them, because they're clearly seeing what they want for themselves and doing that rather than the mechanics of what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, and I think that if you don't have any vision for yourself, you fall into someone else's vision for you, right? And so then you get stuck in the doing and the mechanics and those pieces, right? And so it's that like, it's like, whose vision are you following? And that happens a lot, like with your parents have a vision for you, and then that is why you have your teenage years to be an asshole and decide what your vision is for yourself, and then your 20s to be able to like, oh, let me like kind of even out that, like, sometimes people like gravitate back towards like their parents' values and vision and whatever, and sometimes people are like, hell fucking no, I am not going anywhere near that, and I'm going to go even further, right? And so, but there's a lot of people that will fall into that realm of like, this is what you're supposed to do. That's just someone else's vision.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're like, yes, the person that owns the big company, their vision for you is for you to work 50 hours a week and to be completely burnt out, but continue to do your job.
Yeah.
Okay, that's their vision. They want people that are loyal to their company. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool, but that doesn't have to be yours, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I think a lot of the part of vision that I like love is the choice, right?
Mm.
It's like there's the dreaming and then there's the like magic of it, but there's also the like oh, this is the moment that I'm like making that choice to like make a fork in the road, right? Like, oh, I get to choose this. And sometimes they're tiny little things and sometimes they're, giant world tours. So, it's always fun.
Yeah. It reminded me of like two things. So like as soon as you're like you were setting up that piece about like whose vision are you living, I think about like stage moms, right? There are a lot of people who became famous not because they wanted to become famous, but because their parents felt unfulfilled in an area of their life and put that on their children. And their children just happened to be good enough to get to a level of recognition, and then those children go like, I don't really want to do this, like this isn't the life I want, but because they're getting a certain level of recognition and the parents are getting that hit that they didn't get for themselves, they're living vicariously. So both parties, like the parents are not actually living their fulfillment of being seen, and the child is not living their own purpose and path. And then it also reminded me of like when I went to Landmark, you have like that concept in the advanced course of like there's this idea of like a collective agreement. There's this
Mm-hmm.
concept that like as a collective, as a human collective, there are rules that no one says out loud, but we abide by, right? Like you should get married at a certain time and you should own a house and you should, it'll do better if you have an education, right? Like there are these are collective agreements that unspokenly we as a collective have then gone in, but then there's an individual agreement. Like, okay, I have my own agreements of things that align with me. And sometimes it aligns with the collective and sometimes it doesn't align with the collective. And vision is about seeing, do you see, are you able to witness your own individual agreement and act upon it even if it doesn't align with the collective agreement? Because
Yeah.
it's having the vision, it's having the individual vision that breaks rules. Like, right, if we didn't have people that stood up for their individual vision, would we have civil rights? If we didn't have people who stood up for their individual vision, would women still be able to vote? Right? Like there are moments in time where someone standing in their vision, seeing what's possible for the collective and standing in that for themselves, that creates the ripple effect for there to be a new collective vision. And so I think vision is so important, because when you can see for yourself what is good for you, but that it can impact the collective, you create a ripple for the collective. You may not see it in your lifetime, but you begin the domino effect that the collective gets to be impacted by you standing in your vision.
Yes. And I think that like also seeing other people's visions gives you a permission to expand yours, right? Like you cannot, it's like each person's vision makes that expansion slightly greater, right?
Mm.
Like it is very hard to be around a bunch of people that have a very limited vision if you're going to be like, whoa, I'm going to dream big and I'm going to do these really cool things and I'm going to be out in the world and I'm going to like change this and I'm going to move that and all that stuff. If the people around you are like, no, we're only seeing this far in front of us. And so like, the sharing of the vision and the like, putting it to paper, right? And to display it. I think that the display piece so that you can see it as well as like the 12 people that you see all the time, it's like those are the things that like anchor the vision back into like it's not just like this like magical one-time thought, right?
Hmm.
It's not just this like fleeting vision, right? It's like this is the direction I'm heading. And then, it might not be perfectly crystal clear, right? But like the clarity comes as you get closer.
And that part is so important, right? Like when you have the vision, like you said, it might not always work out the way you want, but when you're clear on the vision, any action you take brings you towards the vision. And it allows you not only permission to stand in the vision, but it gives you permission to fail forward.
Yeah.
A lot of times we beat ourselves up. Well, I wanted to make 6 figures with this launch and it didn't work. So I'm never gonna make 6 figures, or I'm never gonna. And it's like, no. You tried this mechanic to create that result for that vision. That mechanic didn't work. What other actions can you take that still keeps you in the vision? Sometimes we give up on the vision when a mechanic doesn't work out, instead of reminding us that it's not the mechanic and the outcome of the mechanic, but staying in the vision and working it out until the vision comes through.
And sometimes that the doing piece is what needs to change, right? Like there is the reality of reality, right? There is the space of like, can you do the 97 tasks in Asana in one day? No.
No.
I might have to I might be saying this out loud right now, but like you can look at those things and be like, vision is this gets completely done, but that it's the space of like, that might take 9 days, right? Like that might, like mechanically, like, are there enough hours, right? And it's like the kind of going back and forth between opening it wide and then like, in the doing, am I taking the actual steps towards that vision? And that it might be further, like longer term than you think, or it might be coming to you in a way that you were not considering.
Yo, like, can we I mean, I know you all hear this in Cafecito, but the book deal, but like, I literally was on a walk with my sister one day talking about a book deal and writing a journal. And I'm like, she's like, you should do it on Amazon and do it yourself. And you could do it on Canva. And I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And not even 6 months later, someone's like, do you want to write a journal with like a publishing house? And had I been fixated that, no, I must write this on my own and I will work on, like, I wouldn't have had that beautiful.
Or even if you were like, even if the other thing was is that you were like, I'm going to get a book deal with this publisher and I'm going to write the proposal and I'm going to whatever, that like that, them coming to you would not have happened.
Right. But the clear vision was, I was going to write a journal. Literally. It wasn't, I was going to write a book, right? I wasn't going to tell stories, right? It was like, I'm going to write a journal. I want people to reflect on their lives and write and say affirmations. And that came through the vision. Who came to her? Oh, we're talking about the vision of like the idea of vision and staying in vision and how it's the vision that matters.
She's wondering where you got this book deal. The book deal has been for months and months and months since the book's about to come out.
Yeah. And so a friend pitched a possibility to me and I said yes. That's something that was already in the works instead of me having to pitch it. Typically for a book deal, you're writing either a proposal or you're writing the whole book and then you're shopping it to different publications. Like the publisher, the agent, and the project was just like, someone needs to sit here and write it. Like, it was just. But because the vision was clear, I get to write a journal book, and I did not put any expectations on the rest of it. I put no expectations, and I was really at peace. I think part of like manifesting a vision, and I want to go to the etymology of manifesting too. Manifesting comes from Latin manifestus, which means to grab with your hand. Manifesting is not, I'm going to sit and do nothing, but it also doesn't mean you have to hustle. It is like you get to be the active co-creator with the universe of what's coming in. And so, yeah, I was clear on the vision and allowed the universe to co-create with me that vision.
And I think like with all of those things, like how many times do you have an idea of like, okay, I want to make this thing? Like at no point in your wildest thoughts were you like, I'm going to manifest a project that has already been started. They're going to magically find me through another person, and then they're going to hand me money and I'm going to start working on it immediately and then have it out like relatively quickly, right? Like
18 months.
But I mean, like, it wasn't that space of like what you were going to be like, okay, I'm only going after this.
Right.
Like that's in the hustle, right? Whereas if you're just like, yeah, this is going to happen, I'm not exactly sure on why or how or whatever.
Because it's a vision. It was the vision. The vision is this
Yeah.
is where I get to go. And so I feel like while we're talking about this, I'd also love to hear in the chat or see in the chat, let us know, like, what is your vision for this year? Do you have a vision? Are you clear on a vision? Is there something you're looking to get clear on? Because I think vision goes hand in hand with clarity, right? The only thing I did not doubt having the book and like that it was going to be a journal. The rest didn't need to be clear, but I was crystal clear. I was like so certain that that was what got to happen. And sometimes clarity is what we need, because when we're not clear on the core of the vision, then we get stuck on the mechanics of making the idea of it work rather than like getting into it. So,
Yeah.
So let us know in the chat. Let us know in the chat what you're creating, what you're working on. Jamie, what have you been working on when it comes to vision?
I mean, right now, all I'm working on is like what is happening in Las Comadres as we switch over to the Anima Collective and like what that vision is. And like, it's like what we've created here is so amazing that it's all coming with us, as well as like what is coming into the future. I was thinking about this the other day that like when I first started thinking about vision, I was like, oh, when Gabby and I when we formed our partnership at the end of 2019, the vision was super clear. It was like, we want to create what we've created in Miami, we want to create in all these other cities. We want to create a community, a tight community of women helping other women in New York, in Austin, in Atlanta, in all these places, and that they will have like a hub of a place to come together, as well as like individual things. This was pre-pandemic. This was a different, like, this was not in our radar in any way. And it was this idea of like, we kept trying to figure out the mechanics. Like, I will not, like, we were like, okay, now we're going to do this, and now we're going to do this. And like, it was this like over-wrenching, like, and, a global pandemic came along and we were like, oh, we're going to do this. Like, cause that's all we can do. And then from that has been able to build and build and build like what this is turning into in a way that feels like, oh, I could never have thought of this. But when I actually look at the notes, it is back to that idea of, yes, this or something better, right? Like this or something more. And like in those meetings in December of 2019, I mean, all these things like did not exist in my radar at all. And so it's this idea of like, I mean, my idea is always like, I just want everybody to win. I want everybody making a lot of money. I want everybody to be like super excited about everything that they're doing all the time. I want everybody around me to be like up leveling and envisioning more and doing like more of what they love and like being able to see that in them. And that to me is like super, super exciting. And then it's like, okay, like how does that go bigger? How does that like, how does that like make these things happen, right? Like, yes, do I want a learning platform within Mighty Networks? Yes. Is that harder to create than I thought it would be? Slightly. Okay, we're making it happen. Like all the pieces that are coming, it's like I can see them so clearly. And it's like, all right, like one, how do I get other people to buy into my dreams? Like that helps. And then two, how to like, align with other people's whose visions are very similar. And so I like this. I love the word embody.
Yeah, I was just gonna like respond to Ilona J in the comments, but like I think about embody, right? Because the Anima Collective is a place where soul development and business meet, right? And, sometimes we get so stuck in the physical realm that we deny that soul development. And sometimes we're so focused on the soul development that we forget that we're in this physical meat suit, that we get to take care. And when I think of the word embody, I think it is that like that intersection of that the physical realm with that ethereal realm, so that we can be in this body carrying out that cosmic mission, that soul mission, that whatever mission you want to call it. And I feel like it's so cool because it does sound like the direction you're going, Ilona J, is you are going into more of like a soul-led direction. And I think embody is such a juicy word for that.
I love it.
Oh yeah. And Myra, like, yes, vision of like not lone wolfing, like, yeah, like, yes, this is huge. Yes. There's so, girl, Myra's got a lot of things manifesting, popping up when that's, and I'm going to use Myra's example because, like, I've gotten to support her and chat with her, and like there was like a picture. It wasn't a clear picture, and as we got clear on, like, I think of a camera when you have to like focus. The more she focuses, like, boom, this popped up, boom, this popped up, boom, this popped up. And that's why vision is so important, because when you can see it so clearly, that like those things, it's like a popcorn, like it's like all these things. You're like, where is this popping from? You had the kernels. Y'all have the kernels. You just need the fission to heat up the pan and pop those kernels.
And I think like a lot of times, like the heat of that, like of heating it up, is that being in alignment, right? That is that being in alignment with like yourself and the vision, right? Like when you can, it's like, oh, that's the thing that like creates the heating of the popcorn, because it's like, oh, we need that there to be able to be like, oh, that, like there's a thing I want to manifest, like I want to actually grab, right? Like Myra has a great example. I'm going to tell it. So I've known Myra for a long time. And like one time we were at an event where women, what is the name of it? The 100 Women Who Care. Thank you. So we're at 100 Women Who Care. If anyone doesn't know this organization, great organization. They basically, you donate money like per year, and then they have 4 meetings a year. And at those meetings, 3 people get chosen to present their nonprofit, and then there's a vote, and then you get money that night, whatever it is from the pot and whatever. Myra you can only present 3 times total, right? And so Myra had already presented twice and not won the money. And I was like, dude, she's winning this money. So she's like, and everybody had given her all the advice. Oh, you got to do it like this and like this. This was not in alignment with her. They're like, give statistics and these things and whatever. Dude, if you do not know the story behind Myra's nonprofit, I get chills every single time. So I was like, I was doing the social media for that 100 Women Who Care. So I was taking film that day, and I started talking to Myra, and she was like, I was like, tell me about your nonprofit. Tell me what you're trying to do. And when she spoke, I was like so moved. Like, oh wow, okay, she's got like, when she was in alignment with it, like no one else was going to win that damn money. And I was like, do not do anything differently than that. I was like, of you in the alignment, why you started it, who's it helping, who are the people, tell those stories, like that in-person personal stories, and then let the universe do what the universe does, right? And she won the money that night. I was like, you're getting the damn money. And it was like, I don't remember anybody else that went that night, because she was so in her alignment and so in her vision of like, this is what I see for the future of this nonprofit. And it's like, it's only gotten better from there, right? It's like in that space of like, oh, when I can lean all the way into my vision, like, of course you're going to enroll people. Of course people are going to want to, do it. And so it is that, like, of course they want to go give you money. They're going to give you all the money because it's amazing. So, all right.
Vision.
Sorry, I'm like, I can't read and talk. I wish I could.
Yeah. Well, and I love this because Myra's like, oh, like Jamie said it so matter of factly that you're going to win, because Jamie saw the vision clearly. So like, yeah. Sometimes, and you've spoken to this before, Jamie, about the idea that sometimes we know we're not in the vision we need, and we need someone else to expand us into that and what's possible. Like Jamie saw, like, Myra, you had the vision for your organization, but Jamie had the vision for you grabbing the bag. You know what I mean? Like Jamie's like, you're gonna get this. There is no doubt. There's no doubt. And I think there's an aspect like vision. I think vision is part of manifesting. Like I am without doubt, if you do not have vision, you can create, but you're not necessarily manifesting. And part of the once, and I think once we have vision, we can almost like calm down our central nervous systems to a place to trust that we will get there, no matter how long it takes, no matter what it takes. But when we don't have the vision, I think that's what causes that like central nervous system response of like, I got to defend, I got to attack, I got to take a break, I'm frozen, I don't know what to do, confusion, right? Vision keeps you free from confusion, that keeps you from activating your central nervous system into a panic state.
Yes. And I think like one of the like key things about expanders, like they are not necessarily like what you need forever.
Yes.
Right? Like they
Correct.
sometimes, like how many times have you had that experience where you meet like some random ass stranger, they tell you something that you're like, duh, and then you literally never see them again, right?
Again.
There's so many like times that those like things come through, like, and sometimes things that are not great can also be the expanders, right? Like, what is that space, right? Like expanders in relationship. Like those are usually like a really interesting one, like dating, right? Like you date someone and you're like, oh, when people say, oh, I stayed with this person because I never knew I could feel that way, right? That person is an expander to know that you literally are never going to accept anything less.
Yes.
They may not be your actual answer, but they have taken you to this point of, I will never go under this, right? And in that expansion, it is that like, oh, right? Like expander clients a lot of times are the person that you were like, oh God, I'm about to say the most scary price I can ever say. And they literally wrote you the check with like
seconds.
Yeah. Michelle Greyhay was one of my biggest expanders early on in my business. Michelle Greyhay was the first person I ever had that paid for 6 months of coaching like it was nothing. She literally, I still have the check because it was one of those things that I couldn't, all my clients paid me monthly. It was always like, like yeah. I had some like early when I was personal training that paid me like that, but like I hadn't, as I switched over to more coaching, I didn't have any clients that were doing that. And so like, I was like, oh, this is how it is. I knew I had a vision that it could be better, but I hadn't actually witnessed it. And she was just like, oh, well, she said, will you give me a discount if I pay for all of it at once? And I was like, yeah, yes. Like, it had not occurred to me to even offer that, right? And she was like, okay, and wrote me an actual physical check, which is actually
who do I make it out to?
Yeah, exactly. And was like,
I love that.
These expansions are also the good thing that like Michelle wrote me that check in like 20, I don't know, like 14, 15, something like that. And then like last year, one of my clients like also did the same thing, paid me in full and a number that was, and I took also in a check form and I took a picture of both of them and sent it to Michelle. And I was like, thanks for the expansion. And she was like, oh, I love this, you know? And it was that space of like, sometimes you have to see the first to be able to expand into the second. And look, dude, there was like 7 years in between that very large jump of money. But like, oh, okay, like what is that space of opening it up? Yeah. And who are the people you're around that this is normal?
Yeah. Like, yeah. And sometimes expanders is that like it's expand, you know, like you were saying before, like people who are closing their eyes to seeing what else, right? Like I think about, you know, these small towns that fear strangers coming in or foreigners coming in because they haven't been exposed to the joy of being outside of that realm. And the same thing happens with, we get really comfortable. We get comfortable with like our friends group. I see so many people who do the soul development. I cannot count on, more like the number of people I know that do soul development or personal development. And they're like, I can't relate to my friends anymore. I don't know what to do because I want to go over here, but my friends, they're afraid. They don't want to go that big. And so sometimes there's also the reality that staying in your vision will misalign you from places that are comfortable and things that are not bad, right? Because like sometimes those friends are beautiful souls, but they're just not going where you want to go. And so it's, are you going to stay in your vision and go that far, or are you going to choose that really comfy, beautiful, juicy spot? And there is no wrong or right in either of those, but when you're clear on your vision, be ready for that comfort to no longer feel so juicy.
I think that one of the things that also comes from that is that you become the expander for them.
Yes.
And they might catch up, right? Like,
but they're going to get uncomfortable. It gets uncomfortable for people at first. They're like, I liked it when you didn't do these things. I loved it when I had time. I loved it when we just hung out every day after work. I loved it when you just sat home and watched TV with me. And it's like, but look at all these things I'm doing now. And that's okay.
I think that it's also like, I think there is a huge piece of it that there is no wrong, right? Yes. Like, listen, sometimes people need to rest. Sometimes people need to not expand. They just need to stay where they are for a little while and like, right? Like they're like, okay. And that is not ours to judge. That is not, you know, whatever. And in that discomfort, like I send you love, but I am going here, right? And
the both and.
So I decided to keep my word. For everybody that's on Capacito, where I got myself all worked into bullshittery, I am keeping my word of both and. So far this week, I was like, no, I want to go bigger. It's not hard enough. Yeah, this week fucking slapped me across the face of how hard at both and is going to be, which, you know, makes it even more entertaining. And it is this idea of be expanding. Can you be in the space of like, tell you why that this was such an expansion for this week. My mom was in town. My kids are home because school hasn't started back up. All the things that you're going to see happen in the next 2 weeks in Las Comadres as it moves over to Anima Collective have to gotten done. It's great. My children are still home from school and we're going to have an event here on Saturday, right? I had all of the pieces. My mom, yes, my word is both and. My mom had a situation with my middle daughter. My daughter is 16. My middle daughter is me, but outspoken. I don't know if that justifies it, right? She's got a lot, right? She's like coming at you. And like, I was the kind of kid that I was going to fly under the radar. I was going to get away with all the things I was going to do. I was going to do the things I was going to do, but I was not going to challenge anyone. I was just going to make it happen and nobody was going to know. And so my mom is like, and my mom has not stepped from mother to grandmother role in any way. She's super authoritarian and I am not. I am much more like, do what you're going to do, but I like need to know what you're doing. So they have had a situation for 2 years, my mom and her, and it's always, my mom lives in Jacksonville, so we see her like every 2 months and it's a situation. No, my mom's a Sagittarius. And she was raised by a very, very, very strict mom. So like my mom's slightly less strict than her mom, but I am way less strict than both of them. And so, but my mom comes at the situation that nobody wants to do anything with her, that she comes in full victim mode. Now, y'all know me, man. I do not support this, like, listen, I will listen to your words and I will help you through this. But like, if you have zero desire to change, like, I'm probably going to yell at you. I don't know. And I'm going to call you out on your bullshit. Like, that's part of the beauty of me, is that I will call you on the way that you are bullshitting yourself. And she's like, it was so intense and it was so much of this space. And I was like, this is not my vision of this, right? Like, I was like, she was supposed to be coming this week to help me so that I could do all these things, whatever. But there was stuff that needed to be cleared. There was stuff that needed to like come apart. A lot of it was left over from the pandemic. A lot of it was some bullshit. A lot of it was whatever. And it was this situation that like, she was never going to face it. That she's going to like push as hard as she can, but she will never actually say how she feels. And she said 3 times during this very intense conversation, I don't want to be emotional. I'm not going to be like, you can tell she's like, she wants to cry. She wants to whatever. And I was like, be emotional. I mean, it was a little louder than that. It was like, be emotional. Like she was, yes, her vision was totally clear that Katie's an asshole, that like, yes, there's no crying in my house. There's lots of crying in my house, and that's the problem. And so I'm like, I was like, you have to go all the way through this to get through this. So if you're going to hold on to the whole story of all of this, this is going to make this suck. So you get to decide what the vision is. This is my vision. This is what I see. This is how I want it to be. And I got to see in the middle of this, like, nobody's dead. Like, everything's fine. Like, the both and of this is, I did not get as much work done as I needed to. Guess what? I'll get it done. Also, I'll just spend some time and it'll all be okay. One of the things I thought was going to take 4 hours took only an hour and a half last night, and it's beautiful. And so there's pieces of it that are like in the words that you choose for this year. We should probably talk about that too. In the words that you are choosing. Does everyone have their words yet? I know a lot of people do. I would love to see them in the chat. Like, it is what you are putting out there. It is the space of, like, how you get there. And that is the vision, right? Allie's word is delight. You cannot say that word without smiling. You can't.
I like literally had this like inner like squee, like I read the word, I'm like, oh, like I squealed inside of joy.
Listen, but as we stamped it out, I was like, ah! Like it is that kind of word, right? Solange's magic and sunrise. These are like, oh, we need to add the magic to your bracelet. Myra. Yes.
Y'all are coming through with some good words.
It's the good words. And
body, Ilona J's embody. She told us before.
Yes.
No, what's your word, Mia? Janine. I think
Janine is climax.
Oh, climax. That's right. I love it.
And I mean, and we have like I got a list of them: love, influence, abundance, trust, vitality. Bliss is one of Catherine Jones's bliss. Yeah, and I think that like start that vision of this year as you start opening yourself up to, and I mean, and vision is like, it's been created, right? Like, you've been creating this, it's just adding to it. It's like, what is getting a little bit clearer and what's getting a little bit more crystallized in there. It really is important to choose the words. It is really important to write it out. It is really important. One of the reasons why I love the bracelets is so that you are literally like, every single time you are like having a question, it's right there. It's on your wrist. You cannot run away from it. Okay, I have taken mine off before because it's like throws me over the edge sometimes, but like, then it is a conscious choice, right? It's like, those words really, really create things. Like, the year of inspire for me was a big one, right? It was like, oh, fire. Like, that was this piece to me that was like, oh, what am I bringing out into the world?
Well, and we always talk about how words cast spells, right? Like vision, in astrology, Mercury is the planet of thought and communication, right? Like, so these words are the actual like a physical component of the vision that we're holding, right? So what these words do is they cast a spell to keep us focused on that vision that we have. Like, how many times we're like, oh, I really want that, and then like shiny object syndrome, or we really want that, and then someone like really pisses you off, like your mom's like, no crying, I'm going to avoid being in my vision, I'm going to create a new one of being not crying, the not crying grandma. Like these things just refocus us to stay in the actual vision of the life we want to create.
Yes. Yeah, last year my word of the year was allowing, and the word means to give permission to. And so my idea was like to give permission to the best life, right? To give permission to the life I want to be living. Not crying grandma is hilarious.
Go into those moments.
It is that like space of like, okay, like And the thing that also happens is whenever you choose these words, whatever the hell you think is going to happen at the beginning of the year, what ends up happening is always part of the and better. And sometimes it kicks your ass well before that it actually gets better, but it's somehow always somehow by December it pulls its shit together for you. Or at least you learn a lot.
I learned a lot. My word was intimacy, which means to go deeper. Really, it's like not being superficial, right? Mm-hmm. And I had very non-superficial experiences last year. So that's why I'm in Vegas right now.
And it is like when you can also like reflect on where the universe is going to push you, right? Where you're going to like drop into that space, where you're going to like, oh, you called in intimacy, and like what you thought you might have been calling in.
I was waiting for a boyfriend, y'all. Did not source that, but I sourced a lot of going deeper with myself, like really getting like to know myself in a lot of ways. So, and
I think it was also like you had a lot of very like needed conversations. You also, I mean, you had a lot of like spaces where you got to be your true, intimate, authentic self in a lot of situations that you might not have been the year prior.
Facts.
I mean, not the facts I wanted to be giving you, but you know.
Well, this year, my word, I'm the influence word. And yes. I got to tell you, like, this is why vision goes with the beginning of the year and the word of the year, because y'all, literally on the first day of the year, I got invited to speak at an event in LA. Like, and then like now later today, I'm going to be on a podcast with a celebrity. I'm being interviewed by a celebrity later today. And I'm like, we're not even a full week into the word of the year. And this is like going in hot. Like, you know, this keeps it in the vision.
Yes.
I'm still kind of like in disbelief, but and here's the thing, right? This is why I love both and for you, because I did an essential oils like event like a decade ago. And this woman was talking about how the universe sends us stuff and we get excited and we're like, thank you. And we stop. And she's like, sometimes when you just say thank you, point, period, stop, it's like the universe is like, oh, you're good. Because like we had more for, okay, fine. And so she taught us this practice of saying thank you next. Because thank you, acknowledging and giving gratitude, but saying next, I'm open for more. And the moment you start speaking spells of like, I can't believe this is crazy, this is wild, I don't know how this is happening, that's you telling the universe like, oh, I'm not ready for more. You can stop the flow of the vision. And so I've caught myself this week going like, this is not crazy. This is exactly what I asked for. This is the word of the year. The word of the year is doing its magic. The word of the year is in action. I get to say, universe, keep on going. So both and feels very much like thank you next.
Yes. Mio, do you have a word of the year?
Yeah, what is your word? We want to
Mio's. It is this like space, and that in that both and in that like, yes, thank you, and send some more. Thank you next. I don't know. Next always feels to me like you're like, like
no, it's thank you next. What else are you bringing in? Thank you next, more.
Yes, it's all because I had this very interesting breakup that ended with me yelling at the person or as they walked away, and it was hilarious. And all of my college roommates still bring it up 20 years later because it was so funny. But I did call in a lot more next, so I guess it worked. And streamline, interesting. I like this.
I like that. It feels very downloaded. Like it feels like a download energy. I like that. Like, like clear, continuous flow.
Is Rebecca's word of the year, which is like conduct. And like the idea of like the electric like conduction as well as like the symphony conducting, like I'm in charge, but like the parts are moving. So
streamline comes from an 1868 word, a line drawn from point to point so that its direction is everywhere, that of the motion of the fluid. That is a little weird. It's like a hydrodynamic word, but it feels like very like like direct but fluid. I like that it was like direct and fluid. It felt feminine and masculine all at the same time, like that combination of the yin yang.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the word thank you and yes creates the gratitude for what was. Yes, I like.
We
Yeah,
like
I like
that's
the word
close to the
streamline. Streamline is interesting. I like
I like it.
the thought process of that.
Because it does feel like direct, but yet flowy. Like I like that. I love it. Like I'm getting the, yeah. I feel like I literally feel like a beam of light flowing through me as I heard that word.
Will you give Solange the etymology of sunrise?
Oh yeah. Let's look up the etymology of sunrise.
Anybody that was at my house that when we were doing those, I think Solange was there and Ali.
So it's
What was Krista's
of,
word?
so sunrise is comprised of two words, sun plus rise. So the etymology of sun, let's see where it comes from. So from Germanic. So all English surname Sune was feminine, usually Germanic. The sun, alternative the sun. It goes back to literally the sun, like which there is no like extra etymology for the actual word the sun. Oh, no, that's like the verb. Like as in tanning, I'm sunning myself. So let's look at rise. Rise comes from Gothic Eurasian to rise, to travel, to a journey. Oh, I like that.
I like this.
Oh, I like traveling with the sun. Like I feel like it's like a daily energy. Like every day something new comes up rather than like waiting the full year or reading for a lunar cycle. Like it's almost like this energy of being in the journey of the sun, with the sun and with the light too, right? Because the sun is a journey of the light.
I think that the other thing about that also feels very much in the space of like every day is a new, right? Like in the rise, in the daily cycle versus like it has to be super long. So like whether it is good or bad, like each one is a new.
I'm gonna have to get back to you, Myra, because the etymology engine that I use is English and it's not Spanish. So I'm gonna see if I can find a Spanish etymology search engine and keep you posted on that one. But it's like pure life. So I mean, I could look up pure life if you want me to look up pure life, but I feel like pura vida might have like a different etymology. So I'll give me time. Give me time.
I
Money.
love these.
Oh, money. Maria wants money. Are there any final words? Money. Money comes from Latin moneta, place for coining money, mint. Ooh, coinage. Ooh. Oh, I love that because it actually comes from the actual action of making money, not the noun of the physical outcome. So it's like the creation of it.
I like the idea of just the word mint as the word of the year for that. Like it's like make the money, but then also like sort of the sweetness of the actual herb and whatever.
But it also comes from monere, meaning advise, warn, and admonish. It's a tradition with the sensing of admonishing the gods. And it is a doublet of mint. It is actually related. I don't know what that means, a doublet of mint, but it is related to the word mint, which comes from a place where money is coined.
I like.
I use a website, Etim Online. I don't know how to like pronounce that correctly, but I'll put it in the chat box. But I just do my etymology online. But basically it's an etymology online website.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. All right. So come on, Joe. This entire month will be all about vision. And we really, really, really want to hear what your visions are for you in your business. How can we help? How can we, how can you take your vision and expand it further by the visions of the people around us? How can we all take our collective vision and grow all of them, right? This is the idea of like participating in it to like, oh, that person has this vision. So then that means that my thing is even more possible, right? Taking the visions around us and really like making those things come to life. because next month is accountability.
Ooh. Well, and speaking of vision and working together on this, we have an open week later this month. So if you have the vision of other self-identifying women in your life, really getting to have that support in community to make their visions come true, this is the place for you and them. So just a little reminder, as your chief community vision officer was my last title, but now it's just chief community officer, but I still hold the vision of what we can do in community. So quick reminder that we are doing big things, and our vision is to support more self-identifying women to see their visions become clearer and clearer and materialize.
Exactly. So open week is the week of the 23rd. We will start sending out stuff for that next week. But we have vision boarding. Okay, first we have the full moon report tomorrow, not today. We want to know why? Because Mercury retrograde sucks. And Marlene is laid out. So she is doing it at 11 tomorrow morning. Then we have vision boarding at 2 o'clock Eastern time. If you are in Miami or New York or DC, people are getting together. If you're in Miami, you're coming to my house. If you're in New York, it is at the Esoterra. And if you are in DC, at Ziamara's house. If you have questions, let us know. After that, we have Cafecito on Monday. We have co-working. We have more Cafecito, bonus Cafecito. And what we really want to do is make sure that you guys know you can always invite people to any of the things. Feel free to reach out to us. But during open week, we would love to have as many of your people coming in, checking out Las Comadres. If you are coming to vision boarding and you would like to bring anyone with you, bring them. I love seeing new people.
We love seeing people's visions.
The vision boarding is going to be super fun. If you have magazines, bring them with you. I have all the other supplies, but I need some magazines. And I think that is it for today. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for trusting us with your visions and with our new vision here. And we will talk to you soon.